Should I assume that folks can hear me now? Good. All right.
Correct.
Well, welcome, folks. Thank you all, for whoever you are out there, for taking the time to learn more about our program here at Westfield State University in regional planning. My name is Brian Kahns. I'm the chair of the Department of Geography, Planning, and Sustainability. The first thing perhaps to explain a bit is that we have a unique program in the sense that we are, those of us who are on the faculty in the GPS department are a combination of trained and practicing planners and geographers. The history of our department goes back into the 1800s when Westfield State was founded, and we were originally a geography program, and we supported for many years the education students, helping to equip them with the knowledge of the world to go into the teaching profession. Over time, we developed a program in the early 80s in regional planning. And so in geography, we study people, places, environments, we study economic systems, we study cities and towns, and we study populations, their growth, their change, their movement. And in planning, we take all of that important information and data and analysis that we generate in geography, and we put it into plans to make cities and towns and communities more generally more ecologically healthy, socially just and equitable, and economically vibrant places to live. And the sustainability piece is really a sort of a guiding ethos for us in geography and planning. If you're trying to make communities better places to live for their inhabitants, or to protect and preserve aspects of communities that people enjoy, we seek to do that in ways that don't compromise the ability of future generations to do the same. So that's really the kind of the eye on sustainability that we bring to it. I'll tell you a little bit more about the field of regional planning itself, or planning more generally. If you're living in a city or town or community, which of course all of us are, you look around you and you see perhaps you see parks, you see beautiful sidewalks, maybe conservation areas with networks of trails, bike paths, waterfront developments, these kinds of things. All of these things have the involvement of planners in them. So the field itself attracts people who are interested in working to make communities better places to live. And so it really is about trying to make a difference in the world. One of the interesting things about, speaking with planners in cities and towns, or, people who work as regional planners, are people who work across those boundaries. They always know about what's happening in their respective communities. If there's a new project being developed somewhere, or an old project being revisited, a historic renovation or preservation project, planners know what's happening, and they can tell you all about it and what they're doing to help facilitate that process. So one of the next things to mention about planning is that it is, as you may have gleaned from what I've been saying so far, it's a specific profession, right? Every city and town across the country has a planning office. In every region that is kind of collections of counties and cities and towns has a regional planning office, and those offices are staffed with people who are trained to be professional planners. So one of the nice things about the program is that when you leave, you are equipped with the tools and the skills to enter into the planning profession. Now, that said, planning provides you with such a broad understanding of the world, and a really broadly transferable skill set, that there are a whole range of other professions and jobs that await you out there. And we've got a kind of a list of them here. Many of these on this slide here are different types of planners, but you'll see other professions out there as well, like real estate developer or green building consultant or municipal government worker. Planners work closely with engineers, with municipal officials and town officials, and so there's a great deal of opportunity there for people with planning training. I'll tell you a little bit specifically about our degree program here at Westfield State now. So it's a Bachelor of Science degree in regional planning. And I should mention briefly, so that our major is in regional planning, but we also have minors in geographic information systems, in geography, and in sustainability studies. I'll tell you a little bit more about that further below. But the structure of the regional planning major, it's a 39 credit major, which is a relatively modest number of credits. For example, the business major has over 60, as I understand. The environmental science program, we have a lot of double majors in environmental science and regional planning. That program is over 50 credits. So our credit total is relatively modest, which is something that enables our students to do a lot of double majors, to pick up minors, to do study abroad, to do lots of things to complement the core of courses that are required for them. So this is the sort of the roadmap for our degree program. We start off with 21 credits of foundational planning and sustainability coursework. We have a methodology section, which is really robust, and there's lots of interesting courses that we offer there that train us in the methods for use in the field. And then finally, we ask students to choose a concentration, either urban and social justice planning, in which you're trained specifically to work as urban planners and with a focus on equity issues, and then also to work potentially as environmental planners. And in practice, our students get exposure to both of these sub-disciplines of planning, but for the purposes of kind of focusing your studies and perhaps to enable you to market yourself in a sense better in the job market, we encourage folks to develop a specialization. Just a little glimpse at some of the courses that we offer here. So the required courses, there's 21 credits there, and you would start off with an introduction to community planning course, and then another course, environment, sustainability, and society. Both of these really provide you with an overview of the field, trends in the field, and key content areas for understanding what it is we do as geographers and as planners, and working broadly in service to sustainability. You see some other courses there. I won't get into too much detail there. Our methodology courses, you can see we offer quite a bit in the methodology area. A lot of these courses go to serve some of our minors, particularly geographic information systems, which I'll tell you a little bit more about. It's a really important facet of our degree program, though, and a really potent with all sorts of opportunities. And then you can see some of the specific content areas that our students focus in. And one thing I'll draw attention to there is just the breadth of the sort of societal issues that planners deal with, from housing and transportation, travel, tourism, and recreation, urbanization, obviously. On the environmental side, climate change is a crucial issue that planners and geographers take up and do a lot with, pay a lot of attention to. Severe and unusual weather related to that, sustainable energy, another really important topic that our students tend to be interested in and to develop specializations in. So that's just a little bit of a snapshot of the kind of the structure of the major, the types of courses that you might be taking there. This is I just shared this. This is the book cover for an introductory text that is used in our Introduction to Community Planning course, and it was written by my colleague Dristi Niag, who is one of our faculty members. And I like the title of this. I think that it really gets at what we do in planning, right? Shaping our future, community basics, happier, healthier, and more sustainable cities. Urban planning is a big part of what we do, I'll say, but if cities aren't your thing, it's not necessarily saying that planning isn't your thing. Just make a note of that. And this is a way too of introducing our faculty here. So we have, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 faculty members. I had to do a quick count there. This is really the heart of our program. I'm so proud and I feel very fortunate to work with such a dedicated group of folks. These are people who really believe in the power of planning and geography education generally. And you'll see from our interests that that there's really quite a bit of breadth in the types of issues and topics that we're able to teach on. Not only breadth of content, but also geographic area. Global issues are things that we take very seriously and are present in all of our classes, but also we're very grounded in local issues as well. And in fact, as you'll see, very engaged in those issues as well. So a really dedicated faculty that loves to be working with the next generation of planners and geographers. You know, in addition to kind of the broad content areas that I've been telling you about, I just have to highlight the cutting edge technical skills that we offer in our program. Now, I don't want this to be a turnoff to folks who are perhaps not as technologically inclined as others. We do have a couple of requirements that you get some background in geographic information systems, which is a really important and cutting edge spatial analysis and computer mapping software. But if that's not your cup of tea, you do your requirements and then you move on to other things. If it is, I'll say that work in GIS is one of the most, I guess, fast growing, but also in demand kind of technical packages that are out there. So GIS specialists do work of spatial analysis, which really cuts across disciplines. I'll give you an example. So, you know, you might work in GIS and you might be doing mapping of the habitat requirements for a particular, let's say, a reptile species, a turtle that we are trying to assess priority habitat for, and we use the spatial analysis software and the computer mapping of GIS to tell us about that. We recently had a graduate who got a job right out of his internship with the Springfield Police Department using geographic information systems. He was a criminal justice and regional planning double major, using his background in GIS and in the department to map crime statistics to help the police department to allocate resources, right? So really powerful stuff, really lots of opportunities out there. Remote sensing is another technology that we teach in doing sophisticated analysis of aerial and satellite photography. We're also doing more and more 3D modeling. We use and develop physical models, including 3D printing, and we also do computer visualization for design purposes. And I've got an example here of this is a 3D image of a historic building that one of our students developed for a research project he was working on with one of our faculty members. So really, you know, I don't want to brag too much, but among the most cutting edge technological skills and opportunities to develop those here in our department at Westfield State University. Oops, hit the wrong button there. Okay, just some examples of some of the graphics that we might generate as planners. Some of the designs and the graphics that we do are conceptual, and in this case, this is looking at some green infrastructure. Some of them are actual 3D models in the example of this cross-section of an urban neighborhood and city street. And then we do a lot of mapping as well, right? And One of the things that you can do with GIS is to generate multiple maps, integrating different data layers for the purposes of visualization. And so you can imagine how all three of these work together to become very powerful tools for explaining the work that we're doing, the types of plans and kind of future possibilities for cities, towns, communities, environments. That is the heart of planning work. I just want to, I've got this slide put together here to highlight the types of hands-on experiential learning that we do. I think you've gathered so far from what I've been saying that planning is really about working in and for and with communities. And so almost as soon as possible, we have our students out doing work in the communities, in hands-on work in the example in the university, in our labs and studio classes, right? And the second bullet point that I have there, I think, captures a lot of what we do. We map, we measure, we model, we design, and we create. And this is kind of the power of plans to work in communities to show the realm of possibilities that are out there. And we do this in our lab and studio classes. We work in small groups to do problem solving, which is really at the heart of sustainability. How can we do the things that we love to do and need to do and want to do in ways that don't compromise future generations' ability to do the same? And we work in these small groups with students, and we work closely in faculty mentorship with our students, and that's a real exciting piece of the program. We work directly with community organizations, and I'll show you some more examples of that, and that's a really important piece of what we do. We try to provide travel opportunities for students as well, and these include class field trips. We're always getting out, again, to map, to measure, to model, to design, to create. We encourage students to study abroad because geography and planning are always comparative, right? What does this city have that we want for our own city or the city or community that we're serving, right? And we take our cues there from cities in the US, from European cities, from cities in South America, from Asia, from Africa. All of the human experiences have something to teach us, and so it's important to cultivate that through actual site visits, and we encourage folks to do that. And finally, we don't have an internship requirement for our degree program, but I would say that 90% probably of our students avail themselves of the internship opportunities that we present for them. And many of those, as in the example I gave from the criminal justice double major, many of those internships lead directly into hires. And that's a really exciting thing. And often these are happening in home communities that folks might choose to back to if that's their plan. So hands-on experiential learning really from the get-go is part of what we do in the program. Got some images here that help to emphasize this, and this slide also is designed to kind of think about the process that we sort of emphasize in planning in our version of academic study, where we're out in the field gathering data, taking notes, drawing our field maps, and then we develop that into our research possibilities, right, in our research posters and our documents. And then we share that research first with our academic communities to get feedback on it, with our knowledge communities to get a sense for how this is fitting into larger trends, and then we share our research with the community. And so here we have some students working on a program that we've developed with the Westfield Boys and Girls Club. I'm calling it a stakeholder meeting, right, because these are the young men and women of the Boys and Girls Club, and our students here were helping the organization to draft a new plan based on input from the actual folks that are participating in their programs. And so, this is a model of stakeholder participation or community participation, and our students were learning about the techniques that we use to solicit community input. I just a couple of slides to wind things down here to highlight some of the some of the travel opportunities that we are able to put together for students. So this is a slide showing one of our trips to Belize in Central America. So as I said, we always try to cultivate an international perspective. I would say that probably 99% of our students end up working domestically. Many of those students end up working in their home communities, but we want to make sure that they bring that global perspective with them, because most of us live and work in communities that are international now. And again, much of that international context helps to inform the planning process and to inspire a lot of the planning that we do at the local level. So in this trip, we were focused on community-based conservation and agroecology. This was a week-long sort of alternative spring break trip that we took students on, and it was a formative experience, I know, for a lot of the students, talking with them after and even after graduation. So these are the kinds of things that when we get incoming students, we try to let them know that these are possibilities, and really we're able to allow students to imagine that this is a possibility for them, and to help to kind of, in fact, to help plan some of these trips. One other trip that I'll just give an example of, and this also helps to highlight the relationship that we have with the environmental science program for those students that are considering environmental planning tracks. Many of the students that went on this trip were environmental science majors. The Environmental Planning Club, one of our student clubs, is a shared venture with the environmental science program. So we do a lot of work together, and this was a trip that we took to West Virginia to visit and to learn about mountaintop removal coal mining and some of the struggles of communities there for environmental justice. And we visited a really fabulous facility down there, mixed it up with some recreation activity, and got to just spend quality time together exploring the local environments and the issues, and also, you know, doing things like sharing meals together. So it's a small program. We tend to have on average about 50 majors in our program. So that translates into lots of access to faculty, lots of one-on-one time, lots of opportunities to get to know other majors and to think about different ideas you might have for shaping your program here at the university, and to take advantage of the different types of opportunities that we have out there for you. And I've run a bit long on time, so I'm going to leave it there. Again, my name is Brian Kahns. I'm the department chair. I would love to hear from you by email or by telephone. We've got some time for questions now in this session. So